Commander Zixthak flexed his 4 primary talons as his warship, the Blood Harvest, dropped out of hyperspace above the small blue world. The third planet from this system's yellow star looked deliciously vulnerable. Swirling white clouds over vast oceans, continents dotted with the telltale glow of primitive settlements. His predatory instincts, honed over 3 centuries of conquest, sang with anticipation. Initial scans complete, Commander. His tactical officer chittered through mandibles designed for tearing flesh. The inhabitants call themselves humans. Technology level is primitive. Chemical propulsion, electromagnetic communications, nuclear fission. No defensive orbital platforms detected. Zixthak's mouth split into what his species considered a smile, revealing rows of serrated teeth. The Kethvar had built their empire by identifying easy prey and devouring them before moving to the next hunting ground. This Earth appeared to be another simple harvest. Population estimates? He growled. Approximately 8 billion sentients, Commander, all confined to the planetary surface. 8 billion. The number made Zixthak's blood pulse with hunger. His species measured success not in territories conquered, but in the screams of the conquered. These humans would provide entertainment for months. Begin standard intimidation protocols, he commanded. Broadcast surrender demands on all frequencies. I want them to understand what's coming. The first phase proceeded exactly as expected. The humans' primitive communication networks lit up with panic as the massive Kethvar dreadnought appeared in their skies. Their military forces, laughably, primitive craft that couldn't even achieve faster than light travel, scrambled like insects before a flame. Zixthak watched their desperate attempts at defense with amusement. Nuclear missiles, kinetic projectiles, directed energy weapons that barely scratched his ship's hull plating. He had conquered species far more advanced than these bipedal mammals. Shall we begin the culling, Commander? His weapons officer asked eagerly. Not yet, Zixthak rumbled. Let them exhaust themselves first. Fear makes the meat tender. But as hours turned to days, something unexpected began to happen. Instead of the usual pattern of surrender or desperate final stands, the humans did something that gave the commander pause. They went silent. Their communications have ceased, sir, reported his intelligence officer. All military frequencies are dark. Even their civilian broadcasts have stopped. Zixthak frowned. In his experience, prey species either surrendered immediately or fought until the bitter end. They didn't just stop. Perhaps they've accepted their fate, his tactical officer suggested. No, Zixthak said slowly. Ancient predatory instincts beginning to whisper warnings. Something's wrong. The first sign came 12 hours later. A single human transmission, broadcast on all frequencies in perfect Kethvar battle language. We've been studying you. Before Zixthak could process the implications, his ship's sensors exploded with alerts. The space around Earth, which had appeared empty moments before, suddenly swarmed with contacts. Not primitive chemical rockets. These were sophisticated craft using technology that shouldn't exist. Where did they come from? Zixthak roared. Unknown, Commander. They weren't there, and then they were. It's as if they materialized from... The tactical officer's words were cut short as the first human weapon struck the blood harvest. Not the ineffective missiles they'd fired before, but something that carved through Kethvar hull plating like it was tissue paper. Impossible, Zixthak snarled. Our armor is impervious to primitive weapons. Commander, his science officer's voice cracked with fear. These aren't the same weapons. The technology it's ours. They've somehow reverse-engineered our systems from the sensor scans they took during our first engagement. The second revelation hit Zixthak like a physical blow. The humans hadn't been cowering in fear. They'd been learning. In less than 72 hours, they had somehow analyzed Kethvar technology and not only replicated it, but improved upon it. The human fleet that surrounded them now moved with a coordination that spoke of hive mind efficiency, yet retained the unpredictable creativity that marked individual intelligence. Their ships, clearly built in those silent hours, incorporated design principles that even the Kethvar hadn't considered. They're jamming our communications, reported his communications officer. And Commander, they're hailing us. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a human face. Not the terrified visage Zixthak expected, but something far more unsettling. Calm, analytical eyes that studied him with the same predatory interest he'd once directed at them. Commander Zixthak, the human said in flawless Kethvar. My name is Admiral Sarah Chen. We've learned much about your species in the past few days. How do you know my name? Zixthak demanded. We intercepted and decoded all your communications. We know about your empire, your hunting patterns, your previous conquests. Admiral Chen's expression never changed. We know about the 47 worlds you've sterilized, the 6 billion sentients you've slaughtered. Zixthak felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries. Uncertainty. You cannot defeat us. We are the apex predators of this galaxy. No, Admiral Chen said quietly. You were apex predators, past tense. You made a critical error in your assessment of humanity. You saw our primitive technology and assumed we were primitive beings. You confused our tools with our capabilities. The human fleet began to move, not with the desperation of cornered prey, but with the methodical precision of apex predators who had found new hunting grounds. You see, Commander, humanity spent 200,000 years climbing to the top of our food chain on a planet that was actively trying to kill us. We learned to adapt, to innovate, to survive against creatures bigger, stronger, and faster than ourselves. We didn't dominate our world through superior physical attributes. We did it through intelligence, cooperation, and an absolute refusal to accept defeat. Zixthak watched in growing horror as his mighty dreadnought systems began failing one by one. The humans weren't just attacking, they were systematically dismantling his ship's capabilities. The difference between us, Commander, is that you hunt the weak. We learned to hunt everything else, and now... Admiral Chen's smile was distinctly predatory. We're going to hunt you. The last thing Commander Zixthak saw before his ship's life support failed was the human fleet spreading out across space, each vessel heading toward a different vector, toward the 47 Kethvar worlds, whose locations they had so helpfully stored in their databases. The prey had indeed turned and hunted back, and they were very, very good at it.